Episode 7, Under the Bridge. You know, they say 7 is a lucky number, so then why can I only have 6 on my team?
What time is it?
Hello, party people! Welcome to our humble abode. We hope you'll take your coat off and stay a while. I'm your host, Alan Sutherland, also known as Wless, and alongside me, as always, it's my good friend Matt Sabelden, also known as BearsFan092.
Howdy, everyone.
Very good. How's it going, Matt?
Doing all right. Just dealing with the weather right now.
Yeah, we're both up here in the Northeast. It seems like it's been snowing every other day. It's been very annoying. I've almost gotten my car stuck a couple times driving to and from work. So.
Yeah, well, I can't say I've had quite the same luck, but a lot of sliding around. It's fun.
Whatever the opposite of fun is, that's what it is. Unlike this show is the very definition of fun. We've got an awesome one lined up for you. We've got a killer tip for beginners to share with you. We've also got a cool monthly Mon to give away, and of course we'll talk about the biggest event, or events I should say, from the past month, the Winter Regionals. But first, I would be remiss as the host of a Pokemon podcast if we didn't talk about this. But if you haven't seen this yet, you have to check this out. It's called Twitch Plays Pokemon. Matt, what can you tell me about this?
Okay, so basically, if you tried to play a Game Boy, and then you had about 75,000 people try to play the same Game Boy, this is what would happen. So as a result, this, as of recording, this has been going on for about 5 days or so, and they've only got 4 badges, and they've been playing constantly for those 5 days. We had a Charmeleon named Abababaka, parenthesis mark, and we don't have him now because he got released. And the reason why he got released is because we were trying to save a Pidgeot that got deposited in the PC. So that's Twitch Plays Pokemon.
Yeah, so this is the type of madness that can occur when you have a whole bunch of people trying to play a game at the exact same time. So basically what it is someone set up a ROM of the original Pokemon Red version and set the button inputs to whatever is typed in on the Twitch chat screen. So it leads to all kinds of crazy madness. It really is funny to watch it play out. You know, the most menial tasks, you know, like cutting a tree can take 5 hours, 6 hours. I'm amazed. Right now, at the time of the recording, they're in the Celadon Casino there. I don't know how they're going to get out, but I'm impressed they made it this far.
Yeah, so am I, but I'm a little bit worried. Like, what are they going to do when they hit Fuchsia City and they hit the Safari Zone?
Yeah, the Safari Zone is going to be tough, especially, well, obviously because of the 500 step counter there. And with all the crazy moving back and forth, I don't know how they're going to do that. But I heard talk that they might remove the step counter from the Safari Zone.
Like with an action replay code or something?
Yeah, like whoever runs the account would just remove it from the ROM. But that's just a rumor that I heard, because I don't know how they're going to finish it otherwise.
I think they have to, make it subscriber only for the controls, or they need to come up with something.
I think that's definitely the biggest roadblock they've got thus far. But the one part of the game that I wanted to talk about that I wouldn't have thought of at first, but the road from Cerulean to the Rock Tunnel, that Route 9, proved to be a really tough part for them. It took them like 9 hours, I think, just to pass through that one part, that one route.
9 hours isn't too bad, but I can see why that route would be a pain because there are a lot of ledges there.
Yeah, there's a lot of ledges, and there's the one part where you can't move up, and if you move down, you have to move like 20, 30 steps in the other direction to even get back up to that part. So you make a lot of progress, and then it's all gone with the jump of a ledge. So, but then they got through the rock tunnel in like 5 hours. I was expecting that to be really hard too. You can't see anything. But
well, I mean, it's not that hard to see, and it's not a terribly long tunnel. But thank you, based Helix Fossil.
All hail Lord Helix, right?
Right.
Oh man, it's too funny. But So you could check that out on Twitch. But moving on, we'll move on to some old news. Some old news at this point now, but it's still important to touch on, I think. Pokebank is out, and it has been since February 5th worldwide. So, Matt, why is Pokebank out such a big deal? I know we were talking about it constantly for the past few months.
In a word, ditto. Because breeding is really easy in this generation, but at the same time, we don't have access to RNG abuse. So basically, we're still kind of hoping that IVs pass. So with the Destiny knot, we're getting 5 IVs per from a set of parents. So if you have flawless parents, like a flawless Ditto, it makes things a lot easier. So we have all these RNG Dittos back in Generation 5, and Pokebank allows us to bring them over to Generation 6 and makes our competitive lives that much easier.
Yeah, so even if the Kalos native wrinkle in the VGC rules doesn't allow you to actually use the Pokemon from past generations in competition, you can still use them to breed other versions of that Pokemon in the game, as well as the Dittos. So definitely a big deal, definitely a very welcome announcement. And if you haven't gotten Pokebank yet, you have no excuse in getting it because they're running a 30-day free trial of the game, so you could download it for free on the Nintendo eShop, and if you like it, want to keep using it, it's like $5, I think, for the year to have it. So, but with a 30-day free trial, there's no reason not to go try it out. So definitely go pick that up if you have not yet. All right, moving right along, we'll get to the meat of the show here, and that is the Winter Regionals. My goodness, we had a successful set of Winter Regionals, in my opinion. There were over 2,000 competitors in Masters across the 5 events there, which is a staggering number, even though we've seen the game grow in past events. But that really was awesome to see. So out of the 5 regionals, there was only one regional that did not have a top 16 top cut, which requires 256 players, I believe. So that was awesome to see, and all the regionals across the board were very competitive. But we'll get into the results now here. The first regional was the Virginia Regional. Toller Webb took 4th place. Joshua Edwards took 3rd. Enosh Shakar, human there, took 2nd, and the winner was our good friend Ray Rizzo, 3-time world champion Ray Rizzo, and he was using Ferrothorn, Garchomp, Mawile, Rotom Wash, Salamence, and Tyranitar.
Yeah, that team was super solid for this metagame. It's nothing too crazy. I mean, it has some bulkier Pokemon, pretty bulky Calm Rotom, Careful Mawile, which I feel was kind of the craziest part of that team, if you can call it that. And overall, it was really solid and great defensive synergy while keeping up some offensive momentum with Garchomp, Mawile, and Salamence. I approve.
Yeah, very, very strong team and a very strong showing from Ray there. This is, I think this is his first meaningful regional he's been to in like 3 or 4 years. So the fact that he just came out and was able to win it was very impressive, especially over this top 4. It's a very strong top 4. Obviously, there are 3 Worlds competitors in Ray, Enosh, and Toller, and a real up-and-comer, I think, in Joshua Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon is kind of looked upon as like this luck-based game, between so-called decision hacks and, just luck factors. But when you just look at the consistency of these names, I mean, how can you say otherwise? I mean, Enosh is like perennial 3rd place. Now he's 2nd place. Toller Webb finished 2nd in Philadelphia. Now he's 4th place in Virginia. So real impressive.
Yeah, very, very impressive. All right, so moving on now to the second regional, the Oregon regional. This was the only regional. This regional had a top 8 cut, so this was the smallest of the 5, but it was still very competitive. In 4th place there was Casey Traver, a new player I haven't seen around too much. In 3rd place was Tony Chung. 2nd place was Alex Oglaza. And in 1st place was Alex Stempe using a Bisharp, Salamence, Gudra, Rotom Heat, Gardevoir, and Kangaskhan.
Yeah, what was really weird about this regional is that the top two teams had Gudra, and like really, you didn't really see Gudra anywhere else. So
Yeah, that was really interesting. I noticed that as well.
they're either behind the metagame or more likely ahead of the metagame. So props on them for using kind of the overlooked dragon. Although I found it odd that both teams use double dragon and they use Salaman's Gudra as the dragons. Normally we see Garchomp plus a special dragon because they do different things, whereas Gudra and Salamence have similar attacking options. I also found it weird that Evan Falco, Alex Oglaza had Mawile and Scissors, so he ran double dragon, double steel.
Yeah, that certainly is very interesting. Why would someone want to do that? Or what are some of the advantages of using Gudra over, say, using a Garchomp?
Well, Gudra's special defense is through the roof. It's, I think, base 150. Sometimes you'll see an Assault Vest slapped on it, and it just utterly walls any Rotom form, aside from Rotom Fridge form, and even then it's not even taking that much. And the other thing is Gudra has Sap Sipper, and if there's anything that we've learned from this regionals is that Amoonguss is pretty good. So can you imagine having a dragon that's immune to Spore? And that's basically what Gudra offers you.
All right. Well, was there anything else you wanted to talk about for the Oregon Regional then?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, just like some of the Pokemon choices are a little bit different at this regional compared to other ones. Like we saw Zapdos, which was previously only used by human. I'm not sure exactly what set it was used by a Chinese dude, but otherwise nothing too crazy. There's a Ray team up in the top 4, but beyond that, no comment.
Yeah, well, no surprise there with the quality of player that Ray is. But so moving right along then to the Missouri Regional. In 4th place there was Grayson Guerin. In 3rd place was Ashton Cox. 2nd place was Wesley Morioka. And in 1st place, it was Matt Carter, Matt J there, using a Kangaskhan, Talonflame, Abomasnow, Chandelure, Zapdos, and Mienshao. So except for that Talonflame, pretty past generations. A little blast from the past there.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it's kind of interesting the way Matt J's team is structured, because he's got 4 Pokemon that just get obliterated by Tyranitar, but then he's got 2 Pokemon that just one-shot Tyranitar. So interesting game he's playing. Plus he's got the whole Kangaskhan Talonflame combination that's become so prevalent lately. So he's one of the things I want to point out is his Kangaskhan actually runs Hammer Arm, so it's definitely not something that, well, Power Up Punch and just miss the KO. He just opts to go straight for that KO.
Yeah, he was also using Double Edge as opposed to Return, so a very interesting Kangaskhan set.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that one. I want to see some damage calculations on that, so I'll have to ask him about that. But he's got a very cool video that he posted on YouTube, and which is also linked on Nugget Bridge. So definitely check that out. It's really cool. It recounts his whole story. Well, check it out.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that as well. Obviously, on Nugget Bridge, we've got a ton of battle reports being posted by a lot of these players that we've mentioned. Like Ray Rizzo posted one for his winning team from the Virginia Regional, but Matt, instead of writing it out, actually posted a video. Very cool. Definitely recommend checking that out. It's only like 20 minutes long, but it's very cool, very informative. So good job, Matt. Way to go. Moving right along then, let's move on to the Southern California Regional. This was the largest regional. I believe it had over 500 competitors in the Masters division there, so just astounding numbers. Finishing in 4th place, somehow wading through that field, was Jackson Doherty. In 3rd place was Paul Hornack. 2nd place was Gavin Michaels. And in 1st place was Omari Travis, Bad Intent, using Charizard, Venusaur, Scrafty, Rotom Wash, Garchomp, and Mamoswine.
Yeah, and also interesting to note that Gavin Michaels was using the exact same team except with the Gyarados over the Mamoswine.
Yeah,
so.
A mirror match there in the finals.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Gyarados actually didn't give him the edge in that matchup. So good on Bad Intent, who's just destroying this season. But one of the things that you probably need to watch out for going forward is the whole Charizard Venusaur combination. It's just so deadly just because of the virtue of the Fire Water Grass type triangle. And then the Sun giving Venusaur a crazy speed And he's got a good defensive backbone there too with Scrafty Rodham. So that's a tough team to beat.
Very, very tough. And Omari certainly has the resume to back it up. He's got 2 regionals victories and 1 second place finish. And you can only count 3 events towards your CP total. So I think he's got a travel award at the very least locked up for nationals.
Yeah, very likely a Worlds invite as well. I mean, he'd have to completely bomb, and then things would have to go absolutely wrong with the other contestants in order for him to not have a Worlds invite.
Yeah, and that's just not something I see happening, especially he's not going to show up to nationals and just completely flame out. I just cannot see that happening with the way he's been playing so far this season. That was one of my questions for him going forward, because he had the first place finish and a second place finish in the last set of regionals using the last set of rules. So I was wondering if he was going to be able to transition to the newer set of rules, because he was away from the game for a while. And I don't think that's a question anymore.
Yeah, good players are just good.
Wading through the biggest field that we've had at one of these events. I'm pretty sure he went undefeated in Swiss. Had the 1 seed going forward and won seemingly with no problem. So good on him. He's definitely a player to look out for moving forward. So moving right along then to the Florida Regional. In 4th place there was Ashton Cox, showing up again for the second time. 3rd place was Mike Selesky. And 2nd place was Steven Scruggs. And in 1st place was Zach Drobkamp, using a team of Gordgeist, Kangaskhan, Rotom Wash, Talonflame, Tyranitar, and Garchomp.
Yeah, really, that Gorgeist is what sticks out, because those other 5 are very common Pokemon. But Gorgeist is really cool in that it utterly walls Mega Kangaskhan after it Mega Evolves, that is, because beforehand it could, Scrappy Power-Up Punch you, and that's never fun. But what was really interesting is that Zach actually beat Ray on the way there, which once you get up to that level, 1 series doesn't mean a ton, but that's a quality win nonetheless. And shout outs to Link Yoshi Mario, who just popping up everywhere.
Yeah, he was one of the players I actually wanted to talk about a little later on in the show, because he has really impressed me thus far. But also, I wanted to just mention there were some pretty high stakes for Zach going forward in that Florida Regional, right?
Oh dear. So 2nd place SoCal finisher Gavin Michaels, also known as King of Mars. If you don't know him, he's got some pretty long hair, and one of the bets he had with Zach was that if he made it into finals, that Gavin would have had to get his hair cut. Well, as you can see, that Zach not only finished in finals, he won it. So, rest in peace, Gavin's hair.
Yeah, leaving no doubt about whether or not Gavin's hair was going to be surviving. And it seemed like Zach was playing with that motivation, because he ran through the top 16 bracket there, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, until he got to the finals, where he won 2-1. So it seemed like maybe once he got to the finals, he took his foot off the gas a little bit, because he knew that Gavin was having to cut his hair, but obviously he still was able to come away with the victory there. So good job, Zach. A lot of those players have, like I mentioned before, have battle reports up on Nugget Bridge, so be sure to check those out, because it's free insight into the minds of these battlers, basically, which, if you're trying to improve, is definitely something to check out. Another thing I wanted to talk about from this last set of regionals was an issue that we had pop up in not every regional, but definitely in a couple, and that was the intentional draw, which is something we see a lot in the card game side of the events, but not something we've seen in the video game side before.
Yeah, well, the problem with intentional draws in video game is that they are extremely unlikely. You would have to pretty much have 2 identical teams, and you would have to get the same RNG rules, which itself, that's a crazy task, because there's damage rules, critical hits, misses, all sorts of things that can go quote-unquote wrong. And Whereas in the card game, it is feasible to have a tie. It can legitimately happen. So therefore, if someone claims intentional draw, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, it seems that some of the tournament organizers were not on the up and up as far as the video game. So they allowed intentional draws, which goes against the spirit of the game because it is collusion. So naturally, Alpha Zealot's not too happy about it. We're going to see what he's going to do with the rule set. He has made a post expressing his dismay with the situation. So we'll see what happens from here on out.
I'd be very, very surprised if these were allowed going forward. What I think is most likely to happen is we're going to see these expressly disallowed in the rules going forward. So that's just something to keep an eye out for. Funnily enough, some of the people that did do intentional draw in order to benefit them that is what ended up costing them a spot in the top cut. So, I think it goes against the competitiveness of the game, the competitive spirit, if you will, and I think it's probably best if we see those go away, which it looks like that'll happen. So, very good. That's not something we'll really have to worry about. So now I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some of the players who impressed us the most from this past set of regionals. The player I wanted to talk about was, we mentioned him a couple times before, was Ashton Cox, Link Yoshi Mario. He actually top-cutted at 3 of the regionals, getting the top 4 of 2 of them, which is a very strong showing. But the reason I wanted to talk about him is because he used an extremely unorthodox team to get there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his team, and the first thing that jumps out at you is he's using that really ugly Diggersby, and it's a Scarf Diggersby, and with huge power, it hits really hard, moves really fast. It's really good at like sneaking in KOs. So it's something like Charizard, get a fast Rock Slide off, one hit, one shot it. It could trade hits with that Earthquake and same type return. And, of course, he's got that hard-hitting launcher. His team is really, really offensive, and, it was a pretty good call for this metagame.
Yeah, well, it worked for sure, and it's definitely something more unorthodox. A lot, like you said, the Clawitzer and a Diggersby, and he used a Weavile, too, which is not something you see a ton nowadays. So I think that's, something to look at moving forward, is the fact that here's a player who can take something unorthodox and use it well, and use it very well to place high in competition. And I think that's a quality that you look for in these top players. Enosh, for example, was using a Chestnut in his team that took him to the finals against Ray. Wolf has always got something crazy up his sleeve. I think he was using Mr. Mime at the last set of regionals. All these top players, it seems like they're using some more unorthodox stuff, and I think that's a good strategy for him moving forward.
Yeah, that being said, we did see a lot of the standards, like a lot of Charizard, a lot of Garchomp, a lot of Rotom. So, I mean, right now it's still really early in the season, so look more towards Nationals and Worlds. If there's any secret technology that's going to get pulled out, wait till then.
Definitely. So this was the very first officially sanctioned X and Y tournament. So what were some of the major takeaways that you took from these events?
This game is getting really big, really fast. Breeding has made the game more accessible to a wider audience than ever before. On top of that, Alpha Zealot's doing a better job organizing the tournaments than in years past. Not a slam on him, it's just that, he's doing better. So the game's really taking off. I mean, we're having regionals that were bigger than our nationals. So what's going to happen come July is how big is our nationals going to be. So personally, I'm really excited where our game is headed.
Yeah, I'm very, very pleased with the job that Chris Brown has been doing, Alpha Zealot's been doing. The game has only improved since he took over running these competitions. So I think we're in very good hands moving forward, and it's very exciting times to be involved in this game. There are also a lot of diversity in the teams, which I liked, but like you said, there's a lot of the same kind of stuff too. But in the last episode of Under the Bridge, we took a look at our top 10 Pokemon that we thought you might see at regionals. So let's take a look back now at those 10 and see how we did. Our top 10 that we had were Mega Kangaskhan, Smeargle, Mega Charizard Y, Mega Mawile, Rotom Wash/Heat, Garchomp, Amoonguss, Tyranitar, Mega Manectric, and Salamence. So Matt, how'd we do?
I would say we've done pretty well. Like, we hit all the Pokemon that we mentioned showed up at least once, actually more than once. With Mega Manectric probably appearing the least out of the ones that we listed that showed up. However, we were way off base about Smeargle. I thought that, maybe somewhere someone would, hit enough Dark Voids and keep people asleep long enough to make top cut. But there are consistency issues with using Dark Void Smeargle. And on top of that, Pokebank wasn't out for when regionals were around, so people probably didn't get enough practice with it or, just didn't have access to Dark Void Smeargle. So Smeargle, MIA this past regionals.
Yeah, I don't think we were too far. I think Pokebank not being out really hurt it because it doesn't have access to a lot of those really good moves like Dark Void. So I think I wouldn't count it out, though, for the spring regionals coming up here in April. I still think we could see a lot of Smeargle, but that's just me. So anyway, now let's take a look at the updated CP standings. Of course, the top 16 in the CP are getting travel awards to nationals, and the top 4 in the CP, when it's all said and done, get the North American invites for Worlds. So let's take a look at the top 8 now. In first place, obviously, with those 2 regionals wins and the 1 second place finish, is Amari Travis. Behind him is Gavin Michaels, then Mike Selesky, then Steven Morioka in 4th, and then Wesley Morioka in 5th, Ashton Cox, Zach Drogamp, and Paul Hornack in 8th, all eyeing up that World's invitation there. I think that's a really, really strong group of 8 there.
Yeah, and extending down to the top 16, it's all a bunch of names that you know. The only one that is the new kid on the block is Matt Sowerbury, just username Matt. So we're talking about consistency in Pokemon. Well, this top 16 is it. So look upon your role models.
Still one more regional to go before Nats, so that the standings could change between now and Nats, but I think this is most likely the group that we're going to be looking at moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a couple things that could change, especially towards the bottom half. But if consistency holds up, then don't expect too many changes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we've got a ton more regionals coverage over on Nugget Bridge, including lots of those team reports where you can read all about players' mindsets as they were going through the events. We've already mentioned a couple, particularly Matt J's there. But there's a lot more where those came from. It's definitely interesting to read their takes on these events, and that's definitely something that you should check out. All right, well, moving right along, we'll move on to our beginner segment. In past editions of this, we talked about how to breed for IVs and how to EV your Pokemon properly. Well, so now you've got your IV'd Pokemon and your EV'd Pokemon, and you're looking to level them up so that you could use them in competition. But going through the Elite Four is just, it's too boring. It takes too long. So, Matt, what are some ways to speed this up?
The main way that I would do it is to, take your flying Pokemon, head over to Lumio City, and then you want to get something like Charizard, like a Mega Charizard Y, something that has a really strong spread move, and place it in the second slot of your party. Now, make sure you give your lucky eggs out to the Pokemon that you want to level up, and turn on your not your hatching O-Power, but your experience O-Power, and go to Restaurant Lawow's Triple Battle course, and just run through it, and you'll be getting levels so quickly your heads will spin. And within 3 or 4 rounds, your Pokemon will probably be at level 50.
Yeah, it's definitely the way to go if you're trying to power level them up. Be wary, though. you should EV train your Pokemon before you go in and do this. Otherwise, your Pokemon will learn the EVs from who you're battling in Lowell, and you don't want that to happen. So EV them before you go in there, but this really is the way to do it. Another added benefit, it costs a ton of money to get in, but at the end they give you, depending on your performance in the battles, they give you a ton of balm mushrooms, which are very valuable to resell in shops. I think after 3 or 4 trips in Lowell, I was a self-made millionaire just from selling those balm mushrooms. So definitely Lowell is the way to go. All right, so moving right along then, we'll move on to, personally, my favorite part of the show. It's the monthly Mon. So this is the part of the show where we give away a competitive VGC Pokemon, and all you have to do is answer a simple trivia question. It's not hard, guys. It's a free Pokemon, so just do it. So now it's February, and us here at Under the Bridge are all about the Valentine's Day spirit, even though it's now a couple days past. So naturally, this month's Pokemon is going to tie right into that theme. So you could take a guess now. That Mon is Florges. So Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about Florges? Why should our listeners want to win this Pokemon?
So Fairy is that new type in Pokemon X and Y, and quite frankly, it is one of the best types in this game. And Florges is a pure Fairy type, and it has base 154 special defense, putting it on the special defense tier of Lugia and Ho-Oh. So that's pretty crazy. And after a single Calm Mind, its damage output is actually fairly impressive, and you're not going to wipe that thing out with a special attack, trust me. So if you can support it with like Intimidate or maybe some Will-O-Wisp or Reflect, it becomes quite a formidable Pokemon. It does a really good job at staying on the field by itself. It'll hold down the fort for you. So,
how do you win this? Well, you have to answer this question. What's the question? Well, here's the question. Florges' pre-evolution Flabébé has a lot of neat things going for it. It's the first original Fairy-type Mon in the National Dex, and it's the first Pokemon to have a diacritical mark in its name. That's that little symbol over the E, like in Pokemon. It also has the distinction of being the smallest and lightest Pokemon to date. However, there's a Pokemon as small as Flabébé and a Pokemon as light as Flabébé. So, I want to know what those Pokemon are. So, in your answers, I need the names of 2 Pokemon, one that shares a weight with Flabébé, and one that shares its height. Alright, so, how do you submit these answers? Well, it's easy. All you have to do is follow one of us on Twitter, if you're not already. I am at DubsNB, and Matt, you are?
I am at BearsFan092.
So easy enough. Just follow one of us on Twitter, and you could tweet at us the answer. Or if you don't have a Twitter account, you can. All you have to do is send us the answer in a private message on the Nugget Bridge forums. Both of them work. Neither one is preferable to the other, although it doesn't hurt to have more Twitter followers for me. So be sure to get those answers in. We will do the drawing. I'll do the drawing next Monday, so that would be the 24th is when we'll be doing the drawings, and then it'll just be a matter of distributing them, and you can get a competitive Flabébé. Moving right along then, we're coming towards the end of our show. Just some stuff happening on Nugget Bridge right now. This is some really big news. With regards to the Nugget Bridge circuit, it was just recently announced that the prizes for the Nugget Bridge circuit are off the charts this year. There's $1,400 worth of prizes this year in the format. That is a record for a Pokemon tournament. So definitely be on the lookout for that. The first tournament in the Nugget Bridge circuit is coming up very soon, on February the 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And pretty much they have these tournaments every week, but they have them on different days and at different times. So no matter where you are, no matter what you do, you should be able to find a tournament time that works out for you. So it's a good way to play the game. There's more information on that posted on Nugget Bridge. Another thing I wanted to talk about was a announcement regarding streaming. Matt, you might have a little bit more information about that than I do.
Okay, so basically, Nugget Bridge is starting to step up its streaming presence, and really there are 3 staff members that have recently acquired capture cards and have agreed to start regularly streaming, and they are myself, Aaron Zhang, also known as Cybertron, and Scott Glaza, aka Scott. 2 moderators and an admin, respectively. And so I stream every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Cybertron, at some point, will be starting streaming on every Wednesday, and Scott every Sunday once he gets some stuff straightened out. And then we should be good to go, and we'll be bringing you regular streaming content, which, of course, will be ported over to YouTube.
Yeah, that is awesome. So 3 times a week you'll have the opportunity to watch some of the top battlers that we have on Nugget Bridge right now. These 3 guys, Matt, Scott, and Aaron, I would put them against anyone in the world with a good chance to win. So definitely check that out. One of the ways I think is best to improve, if you're looking to improve as a player, is to watch other battlers play and kind of think about the moves that they're making and how you would make similar moves if you were in similar situations. So that's just definitely something that I would check out if I were you. Also going on Nugget Bridge is the Nugget Bridge Major. How are you doing in that, Matt?
Currently 2-1.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, I got beat up a little bit in the last round, but Otters, congratulations on that win. I just got outplayed. And then my first 2 wins were against Jackson 7D and R Inanimate. So kind of using this as kind of a practice tournament, and I'm getting the matchups that I kind of want. So I like how this tournament's treating me so far.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm currently 2-1 as well. I don't know how. I should be 0-3 to be honest, but sometimes Pokemon is a little luck based as well. So very fun. That should be heating up here in the next few weeks. I know a lot of people stream their battles too as well, which you can look out for on Nugget Bridge there. Also, one last thing I wanted to talk about was the Pokemon XY Wi-Fi test tournament that's coming up. I believe it's running this weekend. It's running Friday, February 21st to Monday, February 24th. Basically, to be eligible, you just have to have been included in the standings of the 2013 Global Showdown, and you can play in that. So it's the first Wi-Fi tournament of the year. So it's a chance to kind of look at those mechanics. Matt, you were telling me about something interesting about it, how there was a battle cap, right?
Yeah, you're actually capped to 20 battles a day. However, if you do not use up your 20 in one day, they do carry over to the next day. So you can kind of play some catch up. And I believe the idea behind that rule is, in the past, it was kind of like who could battle the most and grind out the most points. Whereas now it's like, how many wins can you get out of 60 matches, which is a bit more akin to something you'd see at a regional where you only have a set amount of battles. I'm in favor of that rule, definitely, for sure. It might create some ugly tiebreaker scenarios, but overall I think it's better than just seeing who can play the most.
Yeah, I think it's a really good change as well. And, 60 battles, that's a lot of battles, too. It's not like there's too small of a sample size there. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm in favor of as well. And this tournament, it's not quite VGC rules. I believe your Pokemon are at level 30, and some other interesting little quirks as well. But it's still, a nice kind of first test. It's a test tournament, is what it is. So, was there anything else? I think that's it for me. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening, as always. And do not forget to follow us on Twitter and get those answers in. Once again, I'm at DubsNB.
And I'm at BearsFan092.
All right, guys. Don't feed the trolls.
This has been a Nugget Bridge Radio Network production. For more information about our podcasts and in-depth analysis of the VGC circuit, visit www.nuggetbridge.com.